That's disgusting. You're not going to do that right now. No.
Oh gosh.
I can't believe you just did a shot of watermelon Malibu at 3:50 in the afternoon on a Wednesday.
That was so gross.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna do it again.
Welcome to The Crunch, the only podcast that helps you get connected for free at educationconnection.com. It's your boy, Ethan.
And I'm Patrick.
You remember that commercial?
Yeah.
Working for an hourly wage. I went to high school, didn't do grades.
Free credit report, baby.
No, that's different.
Line because I was too lazy. What?
That's a different one. That's FREE. That spells freecreditreport.com, baby.
Baby saw their ad on my TV. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
same
different.
Thing, right?
No, it's get connected for free at Education Connection.
The weird thing about the saw their ad on my TV thing was that was the first ad that I saw.
On TV?
No. For that company. And so I was like, they saw this ad, but they're singing the song in the ad.
It's meta.
It's meta.
Yeah. Before they had the multiverse, before they had Rick and Morty, they had the FREE. That spells free. Creditreport.com, baby.
Do you think the freecreditreport.com guy and the education girl that shot of Malibu watermelon Malibu before the show is really hit
you guys listen, I got an
idea. Look at the crunch. I'm watermelon. This is my coast Malibu.
You remember when we watched Naked Night and the girl from the education, do you think she did it in the free credit report?
Do you think they ever exchanged numbers? Do you think they ever worked out? I was always rooting for them.
I bet they recorded on the same lot at the Warner Brothers studio. I
bet they recorded on the same lot in the old Kmart behind the Chili's in
where Patrick?
In Glendale. That's a suburb of Los Angeles.
That's pretty good. I was gonna say
in Ventura, in Venice Beach, California.
I was gonna say Oakland.
Yeah,
that's over there.
That's in San Fran.
No, I thought it was Sandy. No.
Nope.
All right. Well, there goes that idea that I had for a television show.
Yeah.
I mean, are there any other commercials that have a male and female lead that are so ubiquitous that we think that they could have ended up together? You know, I'm trying
Flo from Progressive and Jake from State Farm.
I think Flo from Progressive and I guess Jake from State Farm. I was going to say there was like a talking box at one point but that was also Progressive. He was voiced by the guy that does Jerry actually for Rick and Morty, which is funny.
Dr. Leo Spaceman.
What?
From 30 Rock?
You're now making stuff up.
Nope, it was the guy. There was a doctor in 30 Rock named Dr. Leo Spaceman, and it was spelled like Spaceman.
Oh,
it was a joke because like Terry was like, Dr. Spaceman, take me to Dr. Spaceman. They're like, he's crazy, and then it like smash cuts to Dr. Spaceman. It's like it's pronounced Spaceman.
Does anybody watch 30 Rock? You're the only person. Yes, you're gonna look around like I'm crazy, but you're the only person.
The most popular shows on NBC at the time.
Let me get a sentence out. You're the only person in my life that has ever referenced 30 Rock to me.
Well, yes, that makes sense because it was a show from the mid 2000s that ended in the mid 2000s. Yeah.
Right. Why do you think that it makes you better than everyone else that you watched adult television when you were young?
I watched it in high school, but I wouldn't say. So I went through 30 Rock once.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was not one of the shows that I had on standard rotation.
Sure.
I'll say that.
Sure.
The shows that I watched over and over again as a kid were Arrested Development, Parks and Rec, and The Office. I watched those over and over again. I went through Friends once. I went through 30 Rock once. If Community had been on Netflix at the time, I would have watched that one over and over again. But yeah, I did. But Parks and Rec, or The Office, 30 Rock, and Community were all part of the same like evening block
multiverse
on NBC.
Yeah.
Yes, they are all part of the same multiverse.
Yeah, I wasn't big when I watched TV when I was young. I was watching like Breaking Bad and The Wire and Game
So
of
I have a question for
Thrones.
you.
Yeah.
Why do you think you're better than me because you watch shows where people died for
Well,
adults when you were young?
it's not because they
You
died.
made fun of me for watching shows that were for adults when I was in high school. You're watching Breaking Bad where the guy
It's
sells meth
yeah, which is cool and
and
based.
kills a hooker
He only did that once, to be
and
fair.
tries to kill a fly.
Let me
He's better
back
at
up.
killing Jesse's girlfriend than he is at killing flies. Anyway.
Let me be clear. I didn't watch Breaking Bad and all those other shows. I actually haven't watched The Wire or Game of Thrones until I was in college.
Oh, sure.
So let me clear that up. When I was in high school, do you know what I actually watched?
Disney Channel.
Cartoons. Cartoon
Oh,
Network,
you were a
Nickelodeon.
Cartoon Network guy. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
Cartoon Network guy, iCarly guy, Drake and Josh guy. I never see if because here's the problem. I would watch the adult shows, and maybe it's because I'm stupid, but I'd be like, this is, what if you can make a kid laugh, you're doing something. You make an
Yeah.
adult laugh.
Oh, I was looking at my W-2 on my tax return. Chortle, chortle, chortle.
When I showed up at 30 Rock, I was late because of traffic. Oh, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane behavior. And I it's upsetting to me that hey, any other red-blooded Americans out there that actually watched cartoons when they were a kid instead of being future media studies nerds at Franciscan University Steubenville?
You know where all the kids who watched cartoons when they were kids now, if they didn't go to a Steubenville conference once or twice, you know where
Where?
they are now?
Where are they,
They're
Patrick?
watching Rick and Morty and Paradise PD and F is for Family on Netflix. They're watching adult cartoons.
Do you
That's
see
what they're
that
watching.
you see that Big Mouth got renewed for an 8th season?
I can't believe they survived John Mulaney going to rehab.
Did John Mulaney go to rehab?
He did go to rehab.
It's because I couldn't stop talking like this.
It's because I couldn't stop snorting cocaine.
Okay.
His latest comedy special is just about rehab,
About how he was
about how he went to rehab. Yeah.
dang. You can really turn anything into comedy, can't you?
You really can't. I mean, everyone wants to know. He was like, there was the intervention. And it was like, I want to know who was at John Mulaney's intervention. I'm sure they were all like the cast of
Right.
SNL,
Sure.
season.
Do famous
Yeah,
people go to other famous people's interventions, or are they
I
just
think
like,
so.
if I have to go to his intervention, that means that I should probably have an intervention because they're all hooked on something?
Yeah, they're all hooked on something. But yeah, he was talking about that. He's like, he brought that up at the intervention. He was like, I'll stop doing cocaine when you guys stop drinking and smoking weed. And then he's like, and then Nick Kroll said, blah, blah, blah. It was fun. It was fun to hear him name drop famous. I was like, that's the guy from the thing.
Sure. I
Yeah.
actually am fine with John Mulaney going away and staying away. I have no problem with
Oh,
this. I'm
yeah?
sure this is going to make some 29-year-old women very upset out there, but I'm okay with John Mulaney not making anything else.
Yes.
He's done it. It's fine. It can stay there. We don't have to delete it. We don't have to throw it on the pile in Berlin along with all the other stuff that we're getting rid of.
Yeah.
But we can just leave it.
It was a great, we had fun in 2012. We
Yeah.
had fun. And now it's time to move on
To kill
to
John Mulaney.
Bo Burnham.
We're moving on from John Mulaney
Yes.
to Bo Burnham.
To Bo Burnham, yes.
Someone who couldn't exist without the former. We're moving on from him to the latter.
You think Bo Burnham couldn't exist without John Mulaney?
Oh, I'm saying John Mulaney couldn't exist without Bo Burnham.
You really?
Yes.
When John Mulaney started doing SNL, Bo Burnham was like 5.
First of all, wrong. Second of all, Bo Burnham's whole thing was like, I'm kind of awkward, doop, 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 and then John
Yeah.
Mulaney was like, I'm kind of awkward, but in the 20s. And that's just like they're doing the same bit just in different ways. Bo Burnham was just first.
Bo Burnham was not before John Mulaney. John Mulaney was writing for The Simpsons. Or SNL. He was
John
writing for
Mulaney
SNL.
first stand-up special. Google. 2012. Bo Burnham first special. 2010.
Bo Burnham's first comedy special was in 2010.
Yes.
Fact check.
What do you mean fact check? I just did the exact same thing that you're about to do. And you don't trust me. We've been doing this show how long?
Okay. John Mulaney's career, okay, he started work as a writer in 2008 on Saturday Night Live.
Okay. But That's
He's 10
different.
years older than John Mulaney.
Being on a writing staff is so infinitely different than doing your own stand-up show.
What was Bo Burnham's first special?
I feel like I'm on the crazy train right now. I feel like Ozzy Osbourne is telling me to get all aboard. Ha ha ha
Uh-huh.
ha. And
Uh-huh.
I'm boarding the crazy train.
Man.
And we're going
Bo
off the
Burnham
rails.
Bo Burnham in 2010 though was so much different than Bo Burnham now.
You are
Or
changing
the
the argument.
Bo Burnham that you're describing, that you claim that John Mulaney ripped off, did not exist in 2010. Bo Burnham in 2010 was like, hey, what if Family Guy was a person?
Did I
That was
did I
Bo
touch a
Burnham in
nerve
2010.
here?
No.
Did I just hit on your two Patrick has two wolves inside of him and they're John Mulaney and Bo Burnham? I'm sorry.
Two repressed Catholic Northeasterners. Those are my
Yeah. Inside of me is Mike Birbiglia and Norm Macdonald, and inside of you is Bo Burnham and John Mulaney. And I think that
No,
tells everything everybody needs to know.
inside of me is John Mulaney and Nate Bargatze. That's who it is.
Nate Bargatze?
Yes.
Who's that?
Ooh, buddy, you should look him up. He's great.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note. Pretend to look up.
One time,
Nate,
John Blevins told me that, or
Nate
no,
Bugatti.
it was Nate Bugatti. It was his friend, his buddy, his guy that works for him. He compared something that I said to Nate Bargatze, and I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense because
Wow.
I like that guy.
It's always
he's a
cool
funny
to get
comedian.
compared to like a real comedian.
Yeah,
I know we kind of make do like this is a big little show that we have.
Yeah.
But we're nothing. But sometimes when we're watching Seinfeld and Jerry Seinfeld says something and my wife says, you would say that? I'm like, yeah, I would say
Let's
that.
go.
I would say that if I was on TV.
Speaking of pop culture.
Oh no.
I have a gripe.
With me?
No.
Ah, rats.
I was listening to Christian rap the other
Why?
day. Why not? I just want to see what's going on in the scene, you know?
So your friend Christian was rapping.
Yeah, and also when you're in the gym, it doesn't really matter what the words are. It just matters that the
So why not
is hard.
Why not listen to good rap then?
And that's the thing is like the good rap has butts in it. So like I'm like I don't want to listen
You
to that.
literally
So
just said it doesn't matter what the words are.
Well, it does matter what the words are because I'm passively taking in crap, you know, as opposed to passively taking in bad music that at least has a good message. But my new favorite thing, I love this. I also, it's a guilty pleasure. All right.
Okay.
I think it's really funny to
You
hear.
love KJ52.
Who?
He's an old time.
Okay.
He's back in the day, Christian rap.
I was listening to Andy Mineo.
Okay.
The GOAT.
Sure.
All right.
Some have said.
That's a layup. That was a song that he did, I think. And he was rapping. I like it because he was rapping about how much money he makes and how much he gives away.
Whoa.
I was like, there you go.
We're taking
and I thought
steps.
it'd be really funny to like envision a rapper. Like, could you imagine if like there was a Catholic rapper who like made sure that all of his references to sex were like references to theology of the body and like also references to like Catholic social teaching, you know, like that'd be really goofy. It'd be really funny.
Yeah. I bet
it wouldn't be good, but it would be funny.
Patrick, can I tell you the unique set of skills that we have on this show?
To do exactly that.
Skill number 1, music production.
Yeah. All right.
I can make a beat. I've done it before. I can do it now.
Our listeners listen to your song every week.
They do. Unbeknownst to them.
Thousands of listens a month.
Pouring dollars into the DJ Pillowcase project. Skill set number 2.
I love DJ Pillowcase as a concept, as like a marshmallow carbon copy where like you have a pillow on your head instead of a marshmallow.
Yeah,
I think that's hilarious.
I suffocate and die on stage because I didn't create an airway for myself.
It's a one-time event, but it's memorable for sure.
It's more of a performance piece than anything. Skill set number 2, you have this great idea and you're a writer.
Yeah.
So if you write some rhymes and I make some beats, and then we get maybe, I don't know, both of us to rap on the track. And then we could get a feature. I don't know who the feature would be, Luke Carey.
Because you know, I made $100,000 and I'm gonna make some more. Rhymes with preferential option for the poor. So
did you just come up with that?
Yes,
I'm telling you, this is the best. Forget the podcast. We're going on hiatus for 6 months, and we're gonna become an internationally renowned and a locally renowned rap group, and
Sporadically renowned. That's what it's. It's like around the world.
we're gonna
Phoebe's
be
texting me to keep
hey
it down.
hey take a look at your local diocesan youth conference, because boy howdy, we are going to be outside of it performing in an unofficial capacity in 2024. Let me tell you.
Our semi illegal rap battle. Our Serb.
Yeah. Uh, 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 how about this? I get that bread with all kinds of agility. That's why you should read Love and Responsibility.
There it is.
Come on.
You're good.
We're
Yeah.
doing great. We're already famous and wealthy and powerful, and we should just deploy our skills in this one strategic area. Forget everything that we've said about growing the podcast. Forget all the strategy. Forget the Patreon. Forget it all. I want to go all in on beat making with you.
Oh my
We're
gosh. Yeah.
switching up right
The
now.
the difficulty here, of course, is that
Yeah.
you have to make sure everyone knows you're doing it ironically, because if there's even a whiff of sincerity, it all comes tumbling down
I
like a
want
house of
I
cards.
I want to ask you, what about this idea you think is ironic? What part of this do you think is not real to me?
Oh
Have
man.
I ever have I ever come to you
Yes.
in my
Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
have I ever come to you in my
Yep.
life with
You have. Sorry, the last time. I
Yeah,
promise.
okay. Have I ever come to you in my life
Yes.
with an idea
Sorry.
for content
Should have did it again.
that was ironic?
Yes. I should have done it that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done. I
You've
should have
got me
interrupted you. I should have just waited. Yeah,
there.
you have.
You got me there. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
true. Well, let's just say, so there's a Catholic rapper going on right now. Did you see the Trad Wave Twitter account posted that they're doing a Catholic music festival?
Okay.
There's a
Can
rapper
we do a
called
live podcast?
I was saying I'm gonna message him. I think it's somewhere far away, but there's a rapper called Enoch
Uh-huh.
that's apparently like he's coming around more. I've
I
never
think I've
heard of
heard of
him.
him. I think I've
Yeah.
heard of him, yeah.
There's a bunch of other artists that I didn't recognize. I think here's the problem. Here's the unique power that we possess, other than all the aforementioned mentioned powers. We can help the Catholic music community become self-aware. Like
Sure.
we need to do the Turing test, but on the Catholic music industry,
Yes.
and help them to wake up and realize, hey, you're not going to be Hillsong. You're
We're
never going to
kinda
be
silly.
Hillsong.
Yeah.
You're never going to be Maverick City Music. You're never going to be Andy Mineo.
No.
Okay, so you might as well just do this all ironically.
You might as well have some fun
Yes,
while
right.
you're out here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we can do that. I
I
think
think
we
so.
can. Remember how Popple did their thing?
Yes.
We could be Popple for a new generation.
I remember Popple vaguely. I remember they did an album for Vacation Bible School one year, and they came
Mhm.
to my church. I don't really remember who they were, though.
They did a Steubenville conference once where it was like, I love peanut butter sandwiches, and everyone was like, oh,
Nice.
peanut butter, and they kind of did the entertainment. We did like a skit with the Elijah and the bears and everything, and I was one of the people
Yeah.
that got killed.
Uh-huh.
And so it feels like, I don't know, like there's room for that, but I feel like it could be so much more. If anybody's connect with Popple's people, please put me on the line with them.
Sure.
So I've got some ideas
This
about
is
anything.
I will say, though, while I was listening to Andy Mineo
No, Minion.
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 Andy Minion, um,
Andy.
I
Yes.
I was struck by a couple of his lyrics, and in that and I kept listening to other Christian rap songs, they all had a similar theme,
Mm-hmm.
was they say that they like to do similes. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this, like Shaq breaking the glass in
Mm-hmm.
1994, or like
Sure.
back in when Tupac got shot. Like they'll
Mm-hmm.
reference that, or
Sure.
they reference basketball players, and
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
like you'll never write a verse like Kendrick. That's he like mentions Kendrick Lamar, and he's like
Mm-hmm.
referencing other mainstream rappers. And I'm like, I'm not. There was one song where I was listening to him, and I was like, he has referenced like 5 or 6 pop culture things in the same verse. And I'm thinking, like, I'm like listening to this, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard that from a mainstream rapper. I don't think
Yeah,
they do that really. They kind of like they play with words. They don't
sure,
go, I'm awesome like that one awesome basketball player. I am being persecuted like that rapper who got shot 5 times in the
sure.
90s.
To
Um
be fair, every rapper does have a verse where they say, "I'm dropping 30 like I'm Curry" at some point. Some there like that is a line that is ubiquitous. But or some they rhyme 30 with Curry somehow, some way.
the only thing that I can think of is Drake's famous diss track Back to Back,
Mhm.
which was a reference to when the Toronto Blue Jays won back-to-back
Is
World
that really
Series.
what that's a
No,
reference to?
I think so. I think it's a bat.
Insane.
Yeah, I think it's that's it's a reference to that, but he's saying like I've done 2 diss tracks back to back against I forget who it was.
Meek
But
Mill.
Meek Mill, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I can think of, but it's like that's a little more that's like that's not a song, that's a diss
No.
track. It's like a
No, yeah.
different genre of, you know. But
Yeah.
I and it got me thinking. Sorry,
Tell me
you go
what you
ahead.
were thinking about.
It got me thinking. I was like, "Man, I'm upset that the pagans are creating culture and we're just imitating it." You know? Not
Mhm.
that Drake's a pagan, but like I'm bummed that I'm bummed that the people used to do similes all the time, but they were like mythological similes or
Mhm.
biblical similes,
Mhm.
right? There was a canon of common stories we could all reference
Right.
to make sense of our current situation.
Sure.
We could
Similes
talk
used to
about
be
being
a lot like Shaq breaking the backboard
yeah,
or like
Tupac getting
Tupac
shot
getting
5
shot.
times.
That's kind of
Yeah.
what similes used to be.
Similes,
Yeah.
but now I feel like I'm caught between, Scylla and Charybdis. I'm just kidding. It's you used to say stuff like that, like I'm like caught between Scylla and Charybdis, or like, these references.
People did used to say that a lot actually.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
No, they would people would mention that.
Yeah. I'm people would used to they would walk out on the street and then be like, "Hey, am I Odysseus because I sure have a cyclops that's taken out my troops."
Ethan,
Yes.
can you think of something that we maybe have encountered recently that mentioned Scylla and Charybdis?
I have read through book 6, and
Uh-huh.
that's as far as I've made it.
So in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, he
Actually, I've
references
read through
Scylla and
book
Charybdis.
5. I have not started book 6.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about book 4 and 5 tomorrow. That's okay. Yeah. Or
I'm in
wait,
the
did we talk?
clear.
Did we talked about 2 and 3? Yeah, we'll talk about
Why
4
are
and
you talking about Priscilla and Aquila?
5. I say that because like there used to be like a I mean, I guess that's a bad example because those are pagan things too.
Mhm,
But like, I don't know. It's a bummer because I feel like Catholicism used to create culture and now
mhm.
it just like
And now it just
references it.
Charybdis' culture.
Yeah, now it just Charybdis is it. The another example that I don't think this is just I don't think this is just a phenomenon in Christian rap. I think it's something that happens all the time,
Mhm.
especially in Protestant sermons in the 2000s and 2010s.
Even now, I would
Even
say.
now,
Yeah.
like the like Superman, Man of Steel would come out and they would do like a Jesus is my Superman series to like reference, and they would have like the S and it says Jesus on it, or like
Oh.
one recently was when the movie Bird Box came out during the pandemic, or this was before the pandemic. I don't remember, but they did Bird Box worship. Do you remember that big meme on? They did like a youth group did like Bird Box worship where they they put blindfolds on everyone. And I was like, that's
That's
the
weird.
opposite of adoration. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, just can't even look at anything. But but yeah, I don't know. I guess is what is it about Christians now that makes us so dependent on the monoculture that
Mm.
we can't like how do we start creating our own culture again? Because we've had this
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah, well, people got mad at me for weighing in on
People
this the
did
other
get mad
day.
at you for that.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think, I we made a so Katie McGrady was saying something a couple weeks ago about how she's worried about the productization of Catholicism
sure.
and, like, T-shirts and candles and rosaries, like, every time someone gets famous, they beard balm or whatever, like, there's always some type of Catholic
Yeah,
product or a book or something to be
there's
sold.
always a thing.
It's always a thing, and she's like, "This is weird," but I recognize that like I'm saying this as I just purchased this thing from my friend and like I recognize that it's good. My take was like buying things and like owning stuff is kind of a part of the culture. I didn't say it was the whole of the culture. I just said it was part of the culture. And people got really mad at me because they said I was a capitalist. It's like, well,
They really didn't like that.
yeah, because yeah, because there's lots of things about what culture is, but I think what we consume is a part of culture. The art, the music, the architecture, the literature, um, even like the politics and the food, like all of that is a part of culture, right? So there's naturally an element of consumption. It's
What
not
we worship,
entirely worship, right? It's
cult
not.
and culture have the same root
It's not entirely based on like what you create or like how
or
you.
consume. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a mesh of a lot of different things. And so I think we live in a world where we do. It's I almost said society, but I
I know
chose
you
not
did. I
to.
heard it. I heard
Chose
it.
not to. We're I mean, it's the post. This is what post-Christian means. If people talk about we live in a post-Christian world, this is what they mean. It's like
Yeah.
Christianity is no longer the dominant force of culture.
Mhm.
Christianity no longer guides people's decision making from a fundamental level anymore. And so naturally, when you have people that are raised Christian but aren't taught that they live in a post-Christian world and aren't given the tools to address that, then they have no clue. They just crib. That's all that they do.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, okay. I guess this means I just take what's popular and make it Christian," which is how we get all of this cringe crap that comes
Uh-huh.
around,
Yeah.
which is like the weird parodies of popular movies and like
Uh-huh.
instead of Squid Game, they're doing Confession Game. I don't know what it is, but like it's just weird stuff that starts
Yeah.
to happen. And you're like, oh, that feels icky. And I don't know why. And it's because it's not coming from a true expression of faith or a true expression of culture. It's just I'm trying to like connect, but I don't know how to actually connect on a human to human level. I
Yeah.
only know how to kind of piggyback on top of something that's already connecting with people and say, hey, me too, even though it should be
Yeah.
flipped and like the culture
I
should be
just know how to
piggybacking
make
onto Christianity,
yeah,
Like,
I just know how to make references.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know how to like affect a change in that way, but
Mhm.
I think we need to call people out more for doing it. That's something that I do believe in. Like when we see someone doing something cringe, like when Andy Mineo references 15 pop culture people, it's like,
It
okay, if
wasn't
you
Andy Mineo, it was someone else, I forget I don't know his
whoever it
name, but
was,
yeah.
Lecrae part 2, um, it's like when we see people doing stuff like that, it's like if you want to be a secular rapper, just go be a secular rapper.
Yeah. Just
Like
doesn't
stop
stopping
pretending.
you.
I do this all the time where I'm
You know
like,
what's crazy?
"Oh, we should make our podcast more like this podcast and we should do videos like this creator." It's like, well,
Yeah.
at a certain point, if I want to do that, I just have to do that and just be like I can't just make the Catholic version of the thing. I have to
Yeah, I think go
make it
do it.
and like
Yeah.
be myself as I'm doing it and just allow the Catholicism to come through and
Mhm.
not I think this is where people struggle is because they're worried that they're not going to be as good as the secular thing that they like. And so they're like, "Well, I'm just going to make the Catholic version of it," which is kind of a hedge because then they don't have to risk anything, you
Yeah.
know?
You know what absolutely sucks is what I'm about to say,
Tell
is
me.
that I think the best example of someone creating Christian art from a place of originality rather than, siphoning off of culture
Mhm.
was Kanye West's album. I think that's a good example. What do you think? Do you think I was
Ooh,
wrong
man.
about that?
I don't know.
Because I think here's a guy who's on the cutting edge of music production. He's not a great songwriter. He's the poopity scoop guy. We all recognize
Hey,
this.
poopity scoop is art.
All right. he but he did create like an auditory experience in that Jesus King album. And man, we just Christian like K-Love just licensed the heck out of that and just started pushing it like, "Hey, we got one." Um, you know, and it was like, now you're a Christian artist, right? And it's like I don't know. It's like maybe it's possible, to we didn't do that with Chance the Rapper, which is interesting because he's a Jesus-y guy, but maybe it's because he talks about fornication in his songs. We didn't wanna, like, maybe associate with that. But I think it's like, it is possible to be a culture creator rather than a culture consumer.
Mhm.
Um,
I
as
just I just think that there's s
Do you think every Catholic needs to do it?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
not at all. I think I think we just need to be discerning. So, there's some element of the Kanye album, everyone's like, "Yes." We even did a podcast on it. You can go back and
Mhm.
listen to it.
I loved it. It was
Yeah,
good.
it's good. It's enjoyable, but it's not the people have a weird like, when you say, like, "Oh, we got one," there's this weird attachment to
Uh-huh.
when someone does something well. This is strange to me. So, like The Chosen, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's losing their ever-loving minds over The Chosen. It's a good show. It's
It's
fine,
good. Uh-huh.
but it's like, "Have you seen The Chosen?" And it's like, I have seen it. I haven't watched 3rd season yet. I'm sure it's great. "You
Yeah.
gotta watch it. It's changed my li" probably it's probably not that good because it's just like every TV show is probably not that good because
It's a TV show.
it's a TV show,
It's as
and
far I mean, it's like The Chosen is good. I think the if you're gonna talk about, like, where you think The Chosen excels,
mhm.
hmm, now season 3, I
It's
don't
I
I
think
don't think this
people
I watched 1 episode.
yeah.
I think the writing in The Chosen is where it shines. It's a very well-written show.
Mhm,
I think I also think the actors are very good. There's never a moment where I'm like, they're hamming it up,
mhm.
The
Yeah,
the acting is stellar.
they do got good acting.
The camera work is standard. It's
Sure.
good.
Right.
The sets and the costumes are standard for what you'd
All fun.
expect,
Yeah.
you know? I think casting was also solid.
Yeah.
Everyone's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it feels like the bar is so low. So, not
I
that
see what you mean. Yeah.
not that The Chosen is bad and not that the Kanye West album is bad, but they're both just fine. They're not like we're not it's not the Sistine Chapel that's being recreated. But
Sure.
the
Yeah, I see
problem
what you mean.
is the problem is that I feel like there's 3 tiers of what people consider to be Christian art. And so it's like the classical Christian art. So like beautiful cathedrals in the Romanesque style, Victor Hugo,
Yeah.
um, or like the Sistine Chapel, or big cool things like that. They were like, okay, this is very clearly beautiful art that is bringing me to the divine. That's even being made today. It doesn't have to be made hundreds of years ago. The next level is something like The Chosen or Jesus is King, where it's like this is made well, and it's well produced, and it's
Uh-huh.
high quality, and it
Yeah.
actually has some sort of something to say in like in a cultural sense. And then the third level of art is like the Word on Fire Bible, where it's like
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
I
whoa.
know I'm no shade, but I'm just saying like that is something that's like, oh, look at this beautiful book and it's got all these church fathers, but it's like it's
Uh,
not reaching people in the same way that something like The Chosen is.
sure.
So
I was waiting for you to say God's not dead for the 3rd
no,
thing.
no, no. Well, I don't even think that doesn't even qualify as what I'm
You
talking
don't
about
think
as like
Oh, okay.
real
I
Christian
thought you were
art.
gonna say that oh, okay. So it's like it's 3 tiers of real Christian art, but then there's this other tier where it's like you don't even get like
Right.
most when I said Christian rap and everyone thought what they thought in their head,
Mhm.
that's what we're talking about. You
Yes.
know?
So I think yeah, I think there's like these 3 different levels, and I think because everything outside of that 3-tiered system that I just laid out,
Mhm.
so like your God's Not Dead and your average Christian rap
Mhm.
and the average sermon that you get, about Superman, that all that there's so much more of that stuff that the
Yeah.
bar for something like the Word on Fire Bible is so low that when it comes out, it sells out. Everyone's like, "This is the most beautiful Bible in the world, and you have to have it." It's like, is it? Like,
It
it's
is
my
yeah,
Bible
it
has
does what
all
it
the
does.
same words as his Bible, and I don't have to, like, look at pictures in mine, I
I
can
love the
just
Word on Fire Bible because it is, it takes away some of the choice when you're giving it to a high schooler. All right. This is what I use the Word on Fire Bible. I bought
sure.
a ton of Word on Fire Bibles for my high schoolers because I was like, you guys don't need to read the letter to the Romans.
No.
You don't need to do it. You
Yeah.
certainly don't need to read Revelation or Leviticus. You just need to read the Gospels right now.
Yeah.
You'll get enough Old Testament-y stuff in there. They
Right.
reference it enough. And so I gave them the Word on Fire Bible so they could have a big book.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just give them the Gospels. They had a big book that has pretty pictures in it.
Right.
I think the
It
the
feels
the
cool.
thing that the Word on Fire Bible does, it's like it's not okay. This is Word on Fire Bible, and then like when a church has screens
Yeah.
and they project, or like a Steubenville conference and they project stained glass windows and like statues,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is so much better than projecting. And I'm throwing shade at my home parish. I love you
Yes.
guys, but they put those like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a picture of a cross during the sunset and there's like a dove
Mhm.
flying by,
Yeah.
you know? It's
The
like Ed Hardy Christian.
yeah.
That's not a good example.
The
But like
projection of the stained glass windows to me is cargo cult behavior.
what?
You know cargo cults?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's like these societies that existed, in places all around the world where there would be outposts for, like, World War II or the Cold War, and all the
Huh.
equipment got abandoned, and,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and,
I
like,
see
these
what you're saying.
people thought that, like, they were the ones summoning the equipment and the food and the deliveries, but it was really, like, the military calling people and saying, "Come drop off supplies."
Yes,
And so
there are
when the
still
military
yeah,
left, they kept doing the things that the military was doing in the hopes that it would reward them, but they didn't really understand what was actually going on. So they're going through all
yeah,
of these motions,
mhm,
and there's the equipment is still there, and they're dressed up in the same uniforms, like they're trying to
yeah.
emulate something, and they don't really understand why or what. And
For
so,
me, the Word on Fire Bible and the projecting stained glass windows in
mhm.
a conference or at a church it's less like that, and it's more like, um let's make the best of what we've got. It's like when you see churches
Yeah,
that are like meeting in gyms because that's all they have. It's like
but it's also
let's
like if it really was let's make the best of what we got, then they wouldn't have it in a basketball arena.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like they would
What
do
I'm
it in a
saying is like
basilica or in a
yes,
actual beautiful building, or we
but
would
see,
build
here's
one.
the problem is like we
Yeah.
built this building in the '60s
Yeah.
and it's gonna cost like way too much money to knock it down and build it back up again. So like this
Yeah.
is what we got, which
Right.
is why I'm
I get
trying
it.
to. I'm like
Yeah.
it's it is what it is. But in my mind, it's like that level of art is like it's the I like the 3 tiers we got going here. It's like the top tier is this beautiful and everlasting
Right.
art. Like the Chartres Cathedral is just
Right.
never gonna go away in terms of
It
even the human memory.
and it
Like
just
it's
demonstrably, like, the way that these places are built and the way that this art works has brought people to conversion.
yes.
Like, there's
So
something
it's
about them that has an eternal quality that, like,
mhm,
can't be grasped, probably because it's a fruit of the exact time and way that it was built and all of these things that just, like, doesn't exist anymore.
yes. And then there's the second level, which is like it's original and it
Yeah.
draws people, but it's just not
It's
transcendent.
it's
And then
using
there's
modern tools to attempt to edge close to the eternal. So it's like because it's necessarily like the TV show is not as solid as like a church, but it's still because it uses that modern form, it impacts people still,
mhm,
right? It still leads to conversions. And so I think it's better than like a Catholic product. And
mhm.
I wish there were more examples besides that and like the Kanye album, as like something that is being used with modern tools and not just in creating something new rather than stealing or like piggybacking.
I mean, I don't know, maybe like and then maybe the bottom level is the third level is the issue is that it's not original.
Mhm.
Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be original. It's not original and it's like it's a poverty because it recognizes like what is the Word on Fire Bible other than an illuminated manuscript? That's just
Right.
what it is.
Yes.
It's stuff like this has already existed,
Yes.
but it's like it can't anymore. And so this is our like
Right.
this
We're
is our
trying to
placeholder.
make an
Yeah.
illuminated manuscript because we know that it's important,
Mhm.
uh, and but the other difference is that the monks didn't sell their illuminated manuscripts.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, they didn't make them to be
Yeah.
high volume
Uh,
ticket items.
yes.
So it's like you're off on a few degrees there.
Uh-huh.
Whereas like the second level is only off on like 1 or 2 degrees, and then the first one is like it's just there. So
So it's more it's like the okay then. All right. So what then is the criteria that makes something like can we get back to level 1? You know, like can
I
we
don't know. Can someone write a mass like how Beethoven wrote a mass? Did he write a mass? Or
Yeah.
was it Mozart?
Because
I don't remember.
when people try to do purely original things that aren't rooted in tradition,
Mhm.
it ends up like God's Not Dead. I'm gonna do a
Right.
completely original thing that's never been done before,
Yeah.
and it's like, well,
It's like having just to make it maybe an example that's a bit easier
it
to
ends up
understand.
not being original is what happens.
Think about like let's say you grew up in a small town, and every week in the small town, old farmer Benjamin had everyone over in his barn to have a
Yeah.
barn dance. And everybody in the town would go over, and that's just where everybody was on Friday night every
Uh-huh.
week for from Memorial Day, from Labor Day to Memorial Day, or whatever the
The other way
time
around,
period
but yeah.
is outside of the summer and or outside of the winter. And then you move to like a big city,
Uh-huh.
and like you try to get everyone in your neighborhood over to your house to like do a barn dance, but like everyone knows the songs and everyone's dancing, but it's not the same. Like
Mhm.
because it's outside of the tradition of that place, and
Yes.
it's not ingrained. And so like how I do you is it possible to build that? Yes, it just takes like time, and you have to be exposed to it. Like it would be very difficult to use the barn dance example, to like build that without bringing some of the people in your new city back to the old place.
Mhm.
And so that's what I think that we struggle in is we just like look at a thing without really being exposed to it, or like not being deep in it. Like we try to build churches without ever going to the Chartres Cathedral.
Mhm.
You know, like we're not there. We're not steeped in it.
Yeah.
We just trust that like some guy who has an architecture degree can kind of make something that's maybe beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's as long as you stay divorced from the tradition, you can't do it. But I've seen some things like there's a builder in Oklahoma actually who posts I forget what his it's like building for 1,000 years or something like that is the name of his Twitter
Mhm.
account. But he like builds buildings according to like fundamental principles of beauty and light and architecture, and like the buildings are actually good, you know, like they're not weird McMansions. They're like good, beautiful places. And he's just one guy, but it's because he spent his whole life dedicated to that thing, and he's built a team
Yeah.
of very specific people who care about it. So I think it's possible, but like, is anyone willing to do the work, or do people just want to make money?
Yeah, I think that's the key is like there's at a certain point you come to a realization that like okay, you can make money doing something or you can make a beautiful thing and those two
Yeah.
things kind of they tend to look they're not always mutually exclusive, but I would say they are generally mutually exclusive. Like I
Mhm.
think so this is where I got. So back to the barn dance analogy, right? Is
Sure.
like the tradition of the barn dance. It's gonna take a different shape over the years. Whereas like maybe Farmer Ben needs his barn one summer, and so it kind of moves, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe the kids aren't as into these songs, so we're gonna change them a little bit, but like the memory remains and it moves and it morphs and it changes. Whereas if you divorce from the context and try to recreate in a different location, it's gonna be difficult.
Mhm.
Perhaps
Hmm.
it's not so like there is a Western canon. There is like a tradition of mankind, and whether that tradition is the
Racist.
whether that tradition is like there is a tradition of mankind, and it's like it was first not informed by Christ, and then informed by Christ, and it slowly went away from Christ, but it can come back to Christ. And it's like perhaps we'll look at the adventures of Huckleberry Finn and and like the other books that have stood the test of time in a way. We'll look at those as like a second pagan era where it's like yeah, we don't accept everything that's in these books because they weren't really Christian, but we recognize the goodness that's in them and they still persist.
Mhm.
I and because I always wondered when we look at like great books courses at Christian universities, I always wondered why they read Discourse on Method by Descartes. Like
Mhm.
that's that book is dumb and wrong,
Yeah,
but
but it's
it
important.
persists and
Right.
stands the test of time, and
It's like
everything
reading Mein
after it.
Kampf.
They don't read Mein Kampf in those books in those
Oh,
courses, but yeah, sure.
or what did Marx write? Das Kapital.
Yeah, Capital. Yeah, they read that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Those are bits. I mean, which one was worse? Who
sure.
can say?
That is a good point. But yeah, so I guess maybe it's like you need to understand in order to make good things, you need to
Mhm.
know the rules of those who come before you. This is what it is. In
Is
sales,
ooh,
in my new job, it's like
take a
the
drink, everyone at
people
home.
yep, the people who do well are the ones who run the orthodox presentation and run the orthodox phone approach. And then they learn over time as they memorize the way to do it well and the way that everyone else has done it, then they can start making it their own. Whereas most people a lot of the people who are unsuccessful do it the other way around.
Yeah,
You know, they're like, I know better. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then it's like, they could be successful.
right,
They might, but we have no idea. You know, we don't
right.
know if they're going to be successful or not. Um, it's probably the same with tradition where it's like,
Mhm,
you need to understand the context
mhm.
before you can innovate.
Yes.
And perhaps so I guess that means everyone needs to subscribe to the Patreon at $10 a month or more so that they can hear our Hunchback of Notre Dame discussion where we're going over Victor Hugo's classic work. Victor Hugo, post-liberal.
Crunchback of Notre Dame. I think it's just to put a bow on this maybe, and then we can do
Yeah.
Dr. Ethan's dating corner. Think about something like movies. I think something that's really hard about all of this is that there's so many of those traditional elements of like if we're just talking about movies or you talking about books or you talking about architecture, there's so many traditional elements of those things that have been mastered by modern society.
Mhm.
So like lighting and camera work and script writing and storytelling and casting and acting and set design and sound design, all those things. Like there, you can look at a movie, a very popular movie, and you can say like, yes, they have mastered all of the traditional elements of this art form, but they're missing out on whatever it is that separates something like that, which is a totally secular deal, from something like The Chosen, right? Like how do you bridge that gap? And I think this is where people get so stuck and they get so confused, and that's why they default to the God's Not Dead, is because it's way harder and way more difficult to take all of those elements and infuse it with like an authentic Christian expression, which is
Yep.
why like I think directors like Scorsese, to give a very basic example,
Mhm.
are very important and very good because he does movies like Silence, that is a movie fundamentally about Christian themes, and he does them excellently. But people freak out because it isn't, there's the main character doesn't choose the right thing in the end. And so
Yeah.
they're like, oh no, the guy, he didn't win. Oh, and they get all
Yeah.
freaked out. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, that's not the point, you know? And so I think people struggle when it doesn't like reaffirm them. And maybe that's just like a modern Western problem, is we like need our
Sure.
identity to be reaffirmed by like the culture. Like the buildings have to make us feel good, but like a cathedral, like if you listen, like the description of Notre Dame, right? It doesn't make you feel good. There's like gargoyles and it's like big and
Yeah.
it's dark and like there's parts of it that are certainly oriented towards heaven, like the rose window, but then there's other parts of it that are make you contemplate your mortality. You know, it's
Have you
like
seen
it's
the chairs? They don't have cushioned pews in Notre Dame,
right, right.
you know?
So I think we got to divorce ourselves from like everything in our culture needs to make us feel good or reaffirm us, and like have a more broad view
Mhm.
of the whole thing.
Yeah, like my mom was talking about how uncomfortable the pews are at Ascension. I'm like, "Good. That means
Yeah.
people won't sit down and talk for hours before mass."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have kneelers either. Kneelers for the weak and the elderly. So maybe we should. All
Yeah.
right.
I will say I do like a good kneeler when I'm holding my sleeping son during mass.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, there's me spouting off again, not thinking about the parents. All right, everyone, start quote tweeting me from your locked
Yeah.
account, you absolute messy girls.
Hey, my tweets are for the people. I've been saying it.
My tweets are for the locked accounts. My tweets are for the girls alt and the secret cabal of
Whoa.
20 something women on Twitter that runs.
It's just Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun, but it's a bunch of angry women from all over the world quote tweeting Patrick, and that's that's it's a music video.
Yep.
Uh, do we? I think it was a good conversation. I had fun talking about that with you,
Good.
Patrick.
Hey, topics, man. The topics chat in our secret topics chat that only you, me, and apparently Ben Eastman have access to is working out. So
We didn't even get to my. I had some bits that I was gonna launch, but we didn't even need them, so I'm gonna hold on to them until
oh,
next week.
oh, it's exciting, guys. We have so
Yes,
much content. We're like spilling out of our ears. All
we're
right, so
content pilled.
this is very much not a dating question. Welcome to Dr. Ethan's dating corner. This is
Hmm.
from Camille.
Hey,
She's a mod on our Discord. So go to bit.ly/crunch Discord if you want to get banned by Camille. This is very much a not a dating question, but I figured it can go here. At youth group tonight, we were talking about vocations, and the baby priest at our parish, he's only 27, came to talk to the kids. I was a little late to the small group because I was talking to him about the priest versus seminarians basketball game he's playing in this upcoming weekend. When I got to the table, one of my girls said, "Are you rizzing up Father Joseph?" And it was very funny, but it made my skin crawl. So that's interesting. I didn't read that before I read it. Do you want me to go find a dating question on Reddit?
yeah, you can. While you do that, I will comment on that. That is uncomfortable. I think teenagers are just teenagers, man. I think they're always gonna look for sex where there is no sex because that's just how they're built.
Yeah.
you know. Um, ooh, hold on. Hey, look at
We have
that.
an update from our last week, by the way. Did you see that?
Ooh.
The person last week who wrote in, excuse me, said, "Thank you all for the advice. We had a conversation about my prior engagement. It went very well. She already knew about it, so and wasn't bothered. We're now dating. Thanks for your help."
This is
Great.
great. On top of that, my wife just sent me a photo of our new house and the countertops have been installed.
Whoa, nice granite countertops, huh?
I don't know. I think they might be quartz. I'm
What?
unsure.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't
Um,
scream. Gourds.
it's if you can riz a priest, just make sure you pick one that has marketable skills for when he leaves the priesthood, because you don't want to marry a guy that just has his MDiv, because that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yep.
I
Yep.
will say
Yep.
that. Pick a priest that was not a priest before. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
was like an
Yeah.
engineer or something, so he can just be wise, ladies. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I got to read this to make sure it's marked as not safe for work. So
Oh,
obviously I clicked on it.
perfect. That's
But I think it's
perfect
just
for
a
us.
Catholicism thing where they're like, I talk about dating. It's not. I don't understand how this text post could possibly be not safe for work. Anyway,
Marked not safe for work because there's mild hand holding
yeah,
described and they don't trust the users of Catholic subreddits to be able to
yeah.
handle
The
that.
question is, how as a Catholic do you go about dating in this modern world, and in what ways
Oh,
would you be?
it's just, I can't. Every time I read this question, it makes me want to jump out of a building window because I just. Please read it because I'm gonna lose my mind.
No, that was the question.
That was the
It
whole
was.
question.
I'm looking for advice. I'm a woman, and I've been wanting to get into the dating world, and I've been finding it hard. I was born and raised Catholic. I want to meet a Catholic. I'm going to a parish. A lot of older people. I also tried my university, but most men here are atheist or Protestant. If you were married in a relationship, how'd you meet? It's how can I meet other Catholics?
How
That's
do
the
I meet
question.
people? Can I just answer this? This is a general answer to everybody who's watching this right now. Okay.
Uh huh.
There's two steps. Okay. Patrick, are you watching me?
Yep.
Two steps. Step number one, decide what the kind of person that you want to marry is like. Just like decide in your mind, I want to marry someone who's this. And that could be as general as he just has to be Catholic and practicing,
Yep.
pretty practicing, baptized and breathing. Like it,
Confirmed and catechized. Right.
confirmed and
Yeah.
catechized. You can just be, it'd be Catholic and they're practicing, or it could be as specific as I need a guy who's taller than me and who has the same interests as me, and I'll like just decide, right? Decide the type
Yeah.
of person that you want. Once you've decided that, do everything you can to meet as many people as you can so that you can find that person. This
And
is
hold
where
him up like a
people
wanted poster and go, "Do you know where this man is?
you
I want
can
him."
do that. But I'm just saying, like, I think people don't want to get married enough. This might sound like I'm coming from a privileged place, but it's like
Yeah.
if you really want to get married and that's really, really important to you, there's a lot more things that you could be doing. Probably.
Yes.
Like have you gone to every single parish in your city? Have you gone to the parishes in neighboring cities? Have you messaged
Join the
people
Knights of
online? Have
Columbus.
you
Never mind. That
have you
doesn't work.
cold called someone? Have you like to what extent have
I'm
you
trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
to what extent have you actually pursued like here's the problem, people just don't meet enough people. If you meet more
Mhm.
people, then you will meet someone that fits in the category of the type of person that you want to marry. But the
Or
problem
you'll
is,
settle, which is fine.
or you're settled, which is fine, because any man can marry any woman. People don't want to say this, but it's true. um the form and matter, the form and whatever is all there. um so I think the problem is people don't meet enough people, and they just kind of sit in their room. They're like, oh, why doesn't the perfect person just show up? It's like, well,
Mhm.
because you don't know anybody. You don't have any friends. How do you expect to have a spouse?
They're not gonna knock on your door
Right.
unless your guy that you really wanna marry is a guy that sells solar panels.
Odds are it's not going to be like a person who's in your church's young adult group. It's going to be a friend of yours that you meet in the young adult group who has a brother or a cousin or
Yeah,
something. You know what I
who
mean?
sells
Like,
solar panels.
who sells solar panels. Patrick's really big on that bit right now for some
Yeah,
reason.
apparently. I
Uh, so just meet more people.
Yeah.
How do I do that? You know how to do that. Go outside.
Go to a park, talk
Join
to people.
bit.ly/crunch discord. Post your name, number, and image on our dating corner channel. And certainly, depending on your gender, you will get
Someone
a
will
lot
reach
of
out.
messages.
Someone will reach yeah, the results may vary based
Results
on
may vary based on whether or not you are a whammon. But come to our Discord,
just how it goes.
bit.ly/crunch discord. You can meet at least 462 people. Minimum.
Yep, minimum.
Minimum.
Do you wanna answer another question?
No, I don't care about dating anymore.
I'm angry.
I
Why?
am angry. I'm upset. I feel I feel deep in my bones about this.
Yeah,
I've got an idea for you. Are
what's
you
that?
ready?
Mhm,
I think this summer,
mhm.
it's not official yet, so we have to work to sharp this a little bit. I think we might be the podcast of the summer again.
Pod
I've
Girl
been
Summer?
It might be Pod Girl Summer. I've been kind of smelling it.
I think it's Pod Girl Summer.
I can smell it, coming off the asphalt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's coming. We're coming fast.
Hey, we are the only Catholic young adult podcast on the new Catholic Best website. Look it up.
What?
I'll at Best Catholic.
Best Catholic? If my grandmother's not on there, then it's a fake website.
Fair.
Elsie's
Oh,
the
what
best Catholic I know.
Best Catholic website? No, that's not. It's Catholic Best. That's what
Where
it
did
is.
you what is this? What is
Catholic
this? Where did you see this?
Best. It's on CatholicBest.com. I think it's CatholicBest.com.
Okay. Are you sending this to me?
I
What's
got an
happening?
alert. I got an alert.
You got an alert?
Yeah.
Is this why we got like 1,500 downloads in one day yesterday? Is because we were on this website?
Is that what happened?
We got a lot of downloads in one day.
That's
Normally,
crazy.
normally we only get that many when like an episode is released, like on the day of. But we don't normally get that many on a Tuesday. So I was wondering if you like went viral again or what. But maybe it's because we're on this website, bestcatholic.com.
Maybe it is. I gotta
Did you
find it.
find it?
Dang. Hold on. I need to tell the people about this because we're on this website.
I'm stressed
Let me
out
see.
now because I don't know what this is. Do I owe
Maybe
them
it's a
any money?
maybe it's a bad thing that we're on this website.
Maybe it's making fun of us. Maybe it's a joke prank website and we're going to have FBI agents storming our home because
Uh-huh.
we ended up on a alt-right leaning website.
It's the CatholicBest.com. The Catholic
Am I going to get a virus while going to this?
Best.com. No, don't worry. All I had to do was put in my social security number and I got
Yeah,
on the
easy.
website. The CatholicBest.com, you go to podcasts
Okay.
and it'll show us.
Where?
We're
Where's
on there, the
Catholic
Crunch Catholic
Podcast?
Podcast.
Click. I'm going to ask who runs this website
I
and ask
think
for top billing.
I think it's I know that I think I know the guy who runs it. It was
Really?
Eric Gallagher. Yeah, he and I did a thing like 2 years ago. So I think cuz I'm on here under speakers. So he
No,
definitely knows who we are.
dude, what? Can I be on there?
Sure. Do you like yeah, I guess you do like giving talks. Yeah, so
I like
it's
giving talks. I like emceeing and giving talks.
I don't have pictures.
It says Catholic podcast for teens, which if you're a
That's
teenager and you're listening
technically
to this,
true.
I need you to disclose that legally.
I think that's technically true.
Yeah. So we're on this website. Why is this relevant to us now at the
I
end
don't
of
know.
our show?
I got an alert. We're on this Catholic Best website, so I think we're going to be the best podcast of the summer.
Well, I think that was already a foregone conclusion, I will
You think
say.
so?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think, Patrick, between you and me,
And the thousands of people listening to our conversation right now.
between you and me,
Uh-huh.
the only thing that this podcast needs to be great is your friendship.
Wow.
And I have that right now.
Wow. This is so good. We do have a good friendship.
And patreon.com/thecrunch to monetize that friendship is the most
Yep.
important thing that you can do at home
The
to
more
help.
money you pay, the more we'll like you. So
I will actually say this. My brother's moving in with me this summer to do
that's a
some
good setup.
what?
That's a good premise for a sitcom. If only you had another brother, you could be your brother, and that guy.
My brother, and that guy. My brother's moving in with me this summer to do editing work for the podcast, amongst other things. To not only free Patrick and I up to do more and better content, but
Have other
also
children.
to increase the reach of this show so that more people can hear about it. So if you like the show and you think it's valuable and you want to help support my brother Ryan financially in this task, we're paying him a little bit of a stipend. I'd like to pay him a lot more because we're not really paying him what a
Market,
editor is
right.
worth. Yeah. Because we can't afford to.
Yeah.
So
Regan was working for free.
Regan was working for free,
yeah.
and that was unjust. But actually, it's fine because he's Canadian, so he gets everything for free.
It's fine.
But if you want to support us in that
if you
specific
live in
way,
a socialist country, let
if
us
you want to
know.
support us in that specific way, even if it's just for the summer, for the months of June, July, and August, $10 a month would really, really help us out. So please think about it, pray about it.
Cost of a cup of coffee, you can pay Ryan.
Right. The more money that we make, the more Instagram reels that we can produce, and the more that you can share those with your grandmom, with your friends, with everybody, so that we can
And your
drive
dog.
traffic to the show, so that we can continue to share all the things we talk about with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we want to do, really. So patreon.com/thecrunch, bit.ly/crunch discord. Subscribe on YouTube. Share this episode with a friend if you liked it. Leave a review, 5 stars. We haven't done that in a while.
No, we haven't. We should.
Best review gets mentioned next week. We'll read it out loud.
If you do a funny review, we'll read it out loud.
You do a funny review. If you review Patrick's look, his new vibe, then I will.
My new vibe? What's my new vibe?
I'll Venmo you $5 if you review Patrick's new vibe.
What's my new vibe?
If you review it, I'll send you $5. Patrick, do you have anything else for the people?
Tune in next week when I break into the Sistine Chapel and replace the faces on the creation of Adam with my face and Ethan's face, and we're like touching microphones instead of fingers.
Are we gonna be naked still?
You will be. I won't. God is wearing clothes.
Podcast for teens. Thank you all for listening. Please pray for us. We'll be praying for you, and we will see you all next week.
We're snapping now.
That's a podcast.
We're snapping.